I'm now going to show you how we drive workflow, and we're going to use the same absence request form to see how this works. So we've got the first page here where we fill in the details of the absentee. Then we've got the specific absence details, dates, reasons for absence. Once this is submitted, it's going to get routed onto the line manager. The line manager will be notified as well, and we'll see how in a moment. And the line manager can approve, reject, or request more information back from the employee. If it's approved, it will go on to the HR person who will acknowledge it, in which case it's closed, or request more information either from the employee or from the manager. So we can see we've got a fairly simple workflow here, but this is perfect for illustrating the way that it works. So here we can see by pressing the W button that we've set up a workflow diagram, which is just a visual representation of our process. You can see here how a new form is submitted. It gets routed onto the manager. The manager can reject it, request more information back from the employee, or acknowledge it and send it on to HR. The HR person can request more information from either the employee or the manager, or acknowledge it, in which case it's closed. So we can add to this diagram very easily just by adding in new stages like this, and we can connect them up in any way that we need to. What we can also do is we can tell Perfect Forms how to move along these lines. So what condition needs to be met such that the manager sends it back to the employee. And that's done by looking in the property bar here. We've set that if the request more info radio button was selected at this point, it now needs to move it to this stage. And in moving it to that stage, we can also drive notifications. So in this case, a notification to the employee, reminders, and also escalations. I'll show you how that's done in just a moment. If I click on the background here, we can see on the right hand side that we've also defined roles. So we can have any number of freely named roles associated with this process. The employee here, here, and possibly here. The line manager here and here. And the HR manager finally at this stage here. If I want to add a new role, I can add that in now by pressing the add button, and that then gives us a new dialog. A new role in here. I can edit that, so I might want to create a role to handle escalation, so we'll just call it escalation. And I can associate that if I want with, could use Active Directory, or we could use a database, or in this case I'm going to use a position that we've actually defined within Perfect Forms itself. So we can define positions, groups, and users, and I'm going to associate that escalation role I just created with the division manager that Perfect Forms has administered. And then the final thing I said we can do is to actually drive the notifications. So what I'm able to do here, for instance, is to notify the employee, and then if the employee fails to respond, send out a reminder, and finally escalate. So that we do by selecting the join line, and I can actually set up behaviors on this line of any type. So I could set up all sorts of calculations, or most commonly we use the notify command to actually generate a notification here to the employee. And I can set the role that I'm notifying, the attention level, which will be shown in the dashboard if you're using the dashboard. And here I can specify the message, so I can include, if I want, form field names to make the message nice and friendly and meaningful. If I want this to go to via email, I just check this box here, in which case I might want to have a link field in my email. Click on insert link, and that inserts a link so that the recipient of the email can click on it to bring up the form. We've also set up here a reminder, so if the employee doesn't respond, I can set up a reminder to go to the employee, attention level set to high, after a total of 3, let's set that to days. And if they still don't deal with it, well, let's escalate it now to that new escalation role. So I'm going to add a new one here. This is a dashboard title. To the role of escalation, that was the new role I created, we'll set the urgency level to very urgent. And finally we'll say the time after, let's say 3 days in total. If any actions take place before either of these, then the subsequent escalations, notifications that we've set up will be cancelled. So you can see we can configure the notifications very freely to individuals, groups, sequentially or in parallel, and all of that administered through this workflow diagram. Next we'll look at how the dashboard works and how people can actually receive notifications other than via email.